Howard Davidowitz. He is the chairman of Davidowitz and Associates. And Howard, we know it's bad out there. Do you think there's been a permanent change in the behavior of the American consumer?
Permanent change, and the worst is yet to come. People are going to buy less discretionary. People are going to be in survival mode. They're buying less toys, less apparel, less electronics, less jewelry, less everything that's in the mall. What they're going to buy is food because they have to survive, and they want it cheap, and they want body covering as opposed to designer goods.
Right, right. The old story is like you can wear last year's clothes, you can't eat last year's food.
Exactly. Let's look at the American consumer. He's got an $8 trillion negative wealth effect from housing. That's the consumer's biggest asset. $10 trillion negative wealth effect from capital markets. Exploding unemployment. Exploding consumer bankruptcies. The consumer can't pay their credit card bills, their auto loans, their student loans, or their mortgages. With exploding unemployment, with no job, with $14 trillion in debt. And now the consumer is so petrified and scared, as they should be.
Right.
What is the consumer doing? They're starting to save.
Right. Shocking, yes.
Save. We went through 6 years where we had consumers spend 6% more than they made. 6 straight years. Clearly unsustainable. Now we've got savings of 3.4. That's a swing of 9.5%. Because the consumer can't use their home as a piggy bank. Their home is underwater. We are in a crisis with the consumer. We think that number is going to go to 6 and 7%, ultimately to 9%. That was the number of saving we had when Ronald Reagan ran for president. We had 9.4% saving. You put people into a fear state, just like Jimmy Carter did. Right. We had double-digit inflation, double-digit unemployment, double-digit. Carter had decimated the United States. What did the consumer do? They saved.
Right.
So the consumer is taking their pennies and saving, and they're trading down. Our grocery store clients are telling us that the most popular items are not brands, they're private label, because that sells for less.
Right.
They're buying bigger packs so they get bigger, better value. If you look at the food business, who's winning? Walmart is the largest food retailer in America.
Right.
They're winning. They're winning because they've got the lowest prices and they've got the strongest price image. Target is getting killed. They sell lots of food. The name of the game is to be cheap. Bruno's is a 100-store food chain. They just filed bankruptcy. So that the food business is very tough because you gotta be cheap. Whole food is in the tank. Too expensive. It's got to be cheap. Trader Joe's is winning.
So for the quote-unquote average American, describe how their life has been and then what you think it's going to look like over the next, I don't know, you're talking 5, 10 years plus.
The average American used to be able to borrow to send their children to a good school. They used to borrow to buy a home. They used to borrow to buy a car. Now, a lot of that is gone. They're going to have to send their child to a state school. That won't be the end of the world.
Not the worst thing that can happen.
Not the worst thing that can happen is a lot of very fine state schools. They're going to have to buy a much cheaper car or a used car or not have a car.
Or keep driving their old clunker for longer.
Or keep driving their old car. They're going to have to live maybe in an apartment and not a house. Maybe they'll be a renter for a longer time. The aspirations have to come down. And that's the only thing that can save us, and we'll have to start saving the way other companies do. We're the most profligate. Our country is borrowing to pay the interest on our debt. We are at the mercy of our enemies. This is a terrible situation.
Right, so it's not necessarily a bad thing that we're going to rein in some of this incredible orgy of consumerism that we've had in this country.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's the only thing. I think the consumer is much further ahead than where Nancy Pelosi, the giveaway queen, is. I think the average American consumer understands that we have to pull back, not borrow more. They're saving. They want to deleverage.
Right. And the government wants us to keep leveraging up, to borrow more.
And the government is borrowing more, and they want us to do it. No, no, no. The American consumer has the answer. They don't want to do it. They understand that's not the way to go.
If there's any good news on the economic front these days, it's that the dollar has strengthened, which means our purchasing power is higher, and prices have come down for a lot of goods and services. Howard Davidowitz, Chairman Davidowitz and Company, your retail consultant, you own an investment bank. Are we going to see more of this? I mean, it's I guess the upside of deflation, that prices come down, and if you have money and you want to spend money, you're going to get a better deal on things?
Prices are going to continue to come down dramatically, and it's going to happen two ways. One, where people shop. Where are people shopping? Walmart, Dollar Tree,
right.
Family Dollar, they're all going up. Who's going down? Saks, Nordstrom, all the department stores, Macy's, Neiman Marcus, Bergdorf Goodman, Barney's is now up for sale. So the people are voting with their feet.
Right.
Are they going to Starbucks? Starbucks is closing 900 stores.
Right.
Mrs. Fields Cookies is in bankruptcy. Ponderosa is closing all their stores.
They're going to McDonald's.
They're going to McDonald's. So the consumer prices are coming down because that's where the consumer's going. They don't need a designer cup of coffee. So there's a dramatic change in where they shop.
So you're talking about these aren't temporary sales. This is a permanent change. Can you put any kind of numbers on what kind of decline in prices we're seeing, maybe for broad segments of goods, apparel, electronics, things of that nature?
Sure. When you take something like apparel, 70% off is the new 50% off. We're looking at an average price of 30 to 40% less, because the opening price point also has to be less. The stores
I'm talking about 30-40% than a year ago? Is that
a year ago.
Okay.
For example, if you look at Saks Fifth Avenue, they're building off-Fifth stores and outlet centers. Look at Coach. They're exploding their outlet center business. Ralph Lauren has got lots of outlet stores. What does that tell you? Those stores sell at 30 to 40% less, and that's where the consumer is going.
And that's the starting price, and then those outlet stores have their own sales too.
They've got their own sales. So at the end of the day, in apparel, you're going to have prices way down, 30 to 40% down from where they were, or the consumer simply won't buy them. The consumer will wait out the retailer. They won't buy. What will happen is you'll have more private label goods, which will sell at lower prices, and that will attract the consumer. Walmart has to run lower sales because they've got credibility on price.
Right.
The people believe this is the lowest price, and they should believe.
What about Costco? We haven't talked about them, because I always feel like I go to Costco, I feel pretty confident I'm getting the lowest price when I go there.
You can feel totally confident, and let's go over the reason. Costco has a margin of 13.5%. You can't get lower than 13.5%. Walmart has a margin of in the mid-20s. So when you go to Costco, they have a 13.5% profit
That's
margin.
the problem, right? So you mean, and that's the limit you can go and continue to run as a viable business?
It is absolutely the limit you can go, because Costco turns their inventory faster than anyone else, and they sell it before they have to pay for it. That's their secret. So they can, and they have a limited number of items. So that's why they can sell it to you at a 13.5% margin. You can't go lower and stay in business. Also, the stores that do survive, whoever survives, understands that the consumer has a value mentality. They absolutely must understand that. So they're introducing more private label products that they could sell for less. You see that at Saks, you see that at Macy's. Macy's has Inc., Alfani, American Rag. They're exploding their own offerings where they could buy it cheaper and sell it for less.
Right. Well, certainly there's sales everywhere you go. We're also hearing at least anecdotal evidence of people who are able to bargain now. It used to be, obviously, when you bought a car, you were able to haggle with the guy, maybe get a better deal, maybe not. And that we're seeing that for other big ticket items. Do you think that's going to continue, become a trend in this country?
It's a major trend right now in furniture, in jewelry, in furs, in coats, in designer goods. If you're a consumer, though, make sure you go to someone in management, not the sales clerk, because he or she might not have the authority to do it. I think a lot of things are up for bargain because the store is in such a desperate position for your money. You've got more power than you think if you're a consumer.
Right, and we're not just talking about the mom and pop stores. We're talking about big chains as well, right?
Big chains. We're talking about electronics, flat screen TVs. We're talking about big chains who, if you go in and you speak to the right person, you may be able to get a discount. There is no question about it. They're desperate for your business.
Right. I would have to think it's happening in electronics because of what's gone on with Circuit City, and now they're liquidating their assets. a friend of mine who's really into TVs randomly emailed me and said, hey, if you want an HD TV, PC Richards now has this Panasonic 42-inch TV for $600. I've never seen it this cheap. And you're telling me I could go into the store, and if I get the right guy, I might be able to get it even cheaper?
There's no question about it, and if you look, and you might get a warranty for nothing. If you look at what's going on now, CompUSA closed all their stores. Tweeter filed bankruptcy and is closing all their stores. Circuit City is closing all their stores. Radio Shack already closed 600 stores. And by the way, Best Buy's earnings are underwater, and their comp store sales are down, and Walmart is gaining share. Why? They don't have the Geek Squad. They don't have installation. Why would you buy it at Walmart? They sell it cheaper. And that's where the American consumer's going. Our country is borrowing to pay the interest on our debt. We are at the mercy of our enemy. The mercy of our enemy.
Real good bet. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't that be fine?